The rain hammered against the windows of the luxury hotel in downtown Chicago as Maya Williams pushed her cleaning cart down the marble hallway. Her uniform was perfectly pressed, her smile practiced and professional, but inside her chest, her heart was breaking into 1,000 pieces. She had just received the call that would change everything. Mrs. Williams, the hotel manager, had called her into his office that morning. "I'm afraid we're going to have to let you go. Budget cuts, you understand." Maya had worked at the Grand Meridian Hotel for 12 years. 12 years of arriving before dawn, cleaning rooms until her back ached, and saving every penny she could for her daughter's college fund. Now, at 45 years old, she was unemployed with rent due in 2 weeks and no idea how she would survive. As she finished her final shift, Maya noticed a commotion near the elevator bank. A well-dressed woman in her 70s was standing alone, looking confused and frightened. Her silver hair was disheveled, and she wore an expensive cream-colored dress that seemed out of place in the late evening hours. "Excuse me," the woman called out when she saw Maya. "Are you lost too?" Maya stopped her cart and approached carefully. Something about the woman's eyes seemed distant, unfocused. "I'm not lost, ma'am. Are you looking for someone?" The woman's face crumpled with relief. "Oh, thank goodness. I can't remember which room I'm in or how I got here. Everything looks the same and I'm so confused." Maya had seen this before with some of the elderly guests. The woman was clearly experiencing some form of memory difficulty. "What's your name, sweetheart?" The woman's voice trembled. "I think I live here, but nothing looks familiar." Maya recognized the name immediately. Was the widow of Charles, the real estate mogul who had built half of Chicago's skyline. The family was worth hundreds of millions of dollars, but here stood, alone and confused in a hotel lobby. "Let me help you," Maya said gently. "Do you have any identification with you?" Fumbled through her small purse with shaking hands. She pulled out a driver's license and several credit cards. "I have these, but I don't know why I'm here. I was supposed to be somewhere important today, but I can't remember where." Maya checked the license. The address listed was for a mansion in Lincoln Park, one of Chicago's most exclusive neighborhoods. "Mrs., this says you live on a store street. Do you remember your house?" "A store street," repeated slowly. "Yes, that sounds right, but how did I get here and why can't I remember?" Maya's heart went out to the older woman. She had watched her own grandmother struggle with similar confusion before she passed away. "Sometimes our minds play tricks on us when we're tired or stressed. Would you like me to call someone for you?" "I don't know who to call," whispered, tears forming in her eyes. "I think I'm supposed to know, but I don't." Maya made a decision that would change both their lives forever. Instead of calling hotel security or the police, she gently took arm. "Why don't you come with me? We'll figure this out together." Maya guided to a quiet corner of the hotel lobby. She bought 2 cups of coffee from the late night and sat down beside the confused woman. "Tell me what you remember from today, Mrs." Sipped her coffee with shaking hands. "I remember getting dressed this morning. My housekeeper, Mrs., was there. She was worried about something. Then there was a man, a lawyer, I think, and papers to sign. But after that, everything is blank." Maya felt a chill run down her spine. A vulnerable elderly woman with significant wealth, signing papers she might not have understood. "Do you remember the lawyer's name?" "Richard something. He said he was helping me with my finances." His brow furrowed with concentration. "Mrs. didn't like him. She kept trying to tell me something, but I couldn't focus." Maya's suspicions grew stronger. She had read enough news stories to know that elderly people, especially wealthy ones, were often targets for financial scams. "Mrs., do you have children? Family members who usually help you with important decisions?" "My son, James, he lives in California. We had an argument last month about something. I think he wanted me to sell the house and move to one of those places for old people." His voice grew stronger as more memories surfaced. "I told him I would never leave my home. Charles and I built that house together." Maya realized that was probably experiencing the early stages of dementia, but she was clearly more aware than she had been initially. "Would you like me to call James for you?" "I don't know his number anymore. It's in my phone, but I don't know where my phone is." Looked around frantically. Maya checked his purse again and found an expensive smartphone. The battery was dead. "We can charge this and find his number, but first I want to make sure you're safe tonight." Looked at Maya with sudden clarity. "You're very kind. What's your name, dear?" "Maya Williams." Maya, why are you helping me? Don't you have somewhere to be? Maya felt a lump form in her throat. Actually, Mrs., I just lost my job today. So right now, the only place I need to be is wherever I can help someone who needs it. Reached over and squeezed Maya's hand. I'm sorry about your job. The world can be cruel sometimes. Yes, it can be, Maya agreed. But it can also be kind when people look out for each other. As they sat together in the quiet lobby, Maya made a decision that surprised even herself. Mrs., I'd like to take you home tonight. We'll charge your phone, call your son, and make sure you're safe. Would that be okay with you? His eyes filled with tears of gratitude. You would do that for a stranger. You're not a stranger anymore, Maya said simply. You're someone who needs help, and I'm someone who can provide it. Maya approached the front desk and explained the situation to the night manager, who she had worked with for years. He helped them call a taxi and wished them both well. As they rode through the rainy Chicago streets toward Lincoln Park, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that this chance encounter was meant to happen. His mansion was a stunning three-story Victorian that took up nearly half a city block. The taxi driver whistled low when he saw it. You sure this is the right place? Maya helped out of the cab and walked her to the front door, fumbled with her keys for several minutes before Maya gently took them and found the right one. The house was dark inside, and Maya could tell that no one else was home. Where is Mrs.? Asked, looking around the grand foyer. Maybe she goes home at night, Maya suggested. Do you have her phone number? Nodded and led Maya to the kitchen, where a small notebook sat beside the telephone. Inside, Maya found dozens of phone numbers, including one labeled Mrs. Housekeeper. Maya dialed the number and a worried voice answered on the first ring. Mrs., is that you? I've been so worried. This is Maya Williams. I found Mrs. at a hotel downtown. She's safe, but she's been confused today. Oh, thank God, Mrs. said. That terrible lawyer was here this morning. He had Mrs. sign papers, and she was so confused afterward. I tried to stop him, but he said it was none of my business. I've been looking for her everywhere. Maya felt her suspicions confirmed. What kind of papers? I don't know, but he took them with him. He said something about managing her money now. Mrs. was so upset after he left that she wandered out of the house. I thought she might have gotten lost. She did get lost, Maya said. But she's home now. Can you come over to help her get settled for the night? I'll be there in 20 minutes, Mrs. promised. As Maya waited for the housekeeper to arrive, she helped charge her phone and find her son's contact information. But when they called, it went straight to voicemail. Maya left a message explaining the situation and asking James to call back as soon as possible. Mrs. arrived exactly 20 minutes later, a small, energetic woman in her 60s who clearly cared deeply for her. She hugged tightly and then turned to Maya with tears in her eyes. Thank you for bringing her home safe. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't found her. Maya was about to leave when grabbed her hand. Maya, would you stay for tea? I feel safer with you here. Something in the older woman's voice made Maya's heart ache. She could see the fear beneath's confusion, the loneliness that seemed to fill the massive house. Of course, Mrs., I'd be happy to stay for tea. As Mrs. prepared tea in the enormous kitchen, Maya learned more about the situation. Her husband had died 3 years earlier, leaving her alone in the house they had shared for 45 years. Her son lived across the country and rarely visited. Her memory had been getting worse over the past year, but she was fiercely independent and refused to consider moving to an assisted living facility. She's vulnerable, Mrs. whispered to Maya while was in the bathroom. Men in suits come by sometimes, saying they want to help her with her money. I try to protect her, but I'm just the housekeeper. They don't listen to me. Maya felt a surge of anger at the thought of people taking advantage of his condition. Has this lawyer been here before? Richard Blackwood. He came last month too, but Mr. James told him to leave. Today he came when Mr. James was in California for work. He said he had permission to help Mrs. with her finances. Did he have any official documents? He said he did, but everything happened so fast. Mrs. was having a bad day, very confused, and he took advantage of that. When returned, Maya made another decision that would change everything. Mrs., I'd like to help you figure out what papers you signed today. Would that be okay? Nodded eagerly. I don't remember what they were, but I have copies somewhere. They searched through his desk in the study and found a folder labeled Recent Documents. Inside were photocopies of papers that made Maya's blood run cold. Had apparently signed a power of attorney document giving Richard Blackwood complete control over her finances, as well as authorization to sell her property and liquidate her assets. "Mrs.," Maya said carefully, "do you remember agreeing to let this lawyer control your money and possibly sell your house?" His face went pale. "No, I would never agree to that. This is my home. Charles and I built this together. I won't let anyone take it away." Maya knew she was in over her head, but she couldn't walk away now. "We need to call a different lawyer, someone who can help protect you from this man." "But how do I know who to trust?" asked, her voice small and frightened. Maya thought for a moment. "Let me call your son again. Even if he's angry with you, he needs to know what's happening." This time, James answered his phone. Maya explained the situation, and she could hear the shock and anger in his voice. "My mother would never give power of attorney to a stranger," he said firmly. "She's been confused lately, but she's very clear about wanting to keep her independence. I'll catch the first flight back to Chicago." "There's something else," Maya said. "Your mother got lost today and ended up at a hotel downtown. She was very disoriented and couldn't remember how she got there." James was quiet for a long moment. "Is she okay now?" "She's home and safe, but I think you should know that her memory problems seem to be getting worse." "Thank you for taking care of her," James said quietly. "I've been worried about exactly this kind of thing happening. Can you stay with her until I get there tomorrow?" Maya looked at who was sitting in her husband's old chair, looking small and vulnerable in the enormous room. "Yes, I can stay." After Maya hung up, reached for her hand again. "You lost your job today, but instead of going home to worry about your own problems, you're here taking care of me. Why?" Maya thought about how to answer. The truth was, she didn't entirely know why she had gotten so involved. Maybe it was because she saw something of her own grandmother in. Maybe it was because she recognized what it felt like to be alone and scared. Or maybe it was simply because walking away from someone who needed help had never been an option for her. "Because sometimes when we're lost, we find exactly where we're supposed to be," Maya said finally. Smiled, and for a moment her eyes were completely clear and focused. "Are you lost too, Maya?" Maya felt tears sting her eyes as she realized the truth. "Yes, Mrs., I think I have been for a long time." That night, Maya slept in the guest room down the hall from his bedroom. She woke up several times to check on the older woman, who seemed restless and confused in the early morning hours. By dawn, Maya had made a decision that would change both their lives in ways she couldn't yet imagine. She was going to help fight back against whoever was trying to take advantage of her. And in the process, she might just find the purpose and direction that had been missing from her own life. As the sun rose over Lincoln Park, Maya Williams H. Maya woke up early the next morning to the smell of bacon and coffee drifting from the kitchen downstairs. She found Mrs. preparing breakfast while sat at the kitchen table, looking much more alert than she had the night before. "Good morning, dear," said brightly. "I hope you slept well. Mrs. tells me you stayed to make sure I was safe." Maya was relieved to see his improved mental state. "How are you feeling this morning, Mrs.?" "Much better, thank you. My mind feels clearer today. Yesterday was like walking through fog, but this morning I can think straight." Paused, her expression growing serious. "Mrs. showed me the papers I signed yesterday. I remember that man now, Richard Blackwood. He was very pushy and made me feel confused and pressured." Mrs. set a plate of eggs and toast in front of Maya. "Mrs. has good days and bad days. Yesterday was one of her worst, but today she remembers everything clearly." Maya realized this was why the scam had worked so well. Blackwood had probably been watching, waiting for a day when her confusion was at its worst. "Mrs., can you remember exactly what he told you when he made you sign those papers?" His face darkened with anger. "He said my son had sent him to help me organize my finances. He claimed that James was worried I would lose money if I didn't let professionals manage it. Then he said something about the house being too much for me to handle alone." "But James never sent him." "Absolutely not. James and I may not always agree, but he would never send someone behind my back like that. Besides, I spoke to my real lawyer just last month about updating my will. His name is Mr., and he's been working with our family for 20 years. Maya felt a spark of hope. "Maybe Mr. can help us figure out what to do about these papers you signed." "That's exactly what I was thinking," said. "Would you mind calling him for me? I trust you and I want you involved in this." Maya was touched by his trust, but also worried about getting too deeply involved. Mrs., I'm not family. Are you sure you want me making legal calls for you? Dear, yesterday you were the only person who cared enough to make sure I got home safely. My own son lives 3,000 miles away, and most of the people who claim to want to help me are really just after my money. You've already done more for me in one day than most people have done in years. Maya called the law office of and associates and explained the situation. Mr. was alarmed when he heard about the power of attorney document and agreed to meet them that afternoon. While they waited for the appointment, gave Maya a tour of the mansion. It was even more impressive in daylight, filled with priceless art and antiques collected over decades of marriage. Family photos lined the hallways, showing and Charles at various charity events, traveling the world, and building their real estate empire. Charles started with nothing, explained as they looked at old photographs. His father was a construction worker, and Charles learned the business from the ground up. We bought our first property when we were 25 and barely had $2 to rub together. Maya studied a photo of Young and Charles standing in front of a small apartment building. How did you build all this from one small building? Hard work, smart decisions, and treating people fairly, said proudly. Charles always said that business success should lift everyone up, not just the people at the top. That's why we started the foundation to help families buy their first homes. Maya had heard of the foundation but didn't realize was personally involved. You help families buy houses. We provide down payment assistance and financial counseling to families who wouldn't qualify for traditional mortgages. Charles believed everyone deserved a chance to own their own home. Eyes grew sad. Since he died, I've tried to keep the foundation running, but it's been difficult. Some of the board members think I'm too old to be involved anymore. Maya felt pieces of a puzzle clicking into place. Mrs., is it possible that someone wants to take control of your money so they can control the foundation too? Stopped walking and stared at Maya. I never thought of that, but you might be right. The foundation controls millions of dollars in grants and loans. If someone gained control of my finances, they could redirect all that money. Before Maya could respond, the doorbell rang. Mrs. answered it and returned with a worried expression. Mrs., there's a man here who says he's from Richard Blackwood's office. He has more papers for you to sign. Gripped Maya's arm tightly. I don't want to see him. Yesterday I was so confused, but today I know exactly what's happening. They're trying to steal everything Charles and I built together. Maya felt a surge of protective anger. You don't have to sign anything or even talk to him. This is your house. But what if he tries to force me? What if he says I already agreed to work with his firm? Maya made a quick decision. Let me handle this. Stay here with Mrs. Maya walked to the front door where a young man in an expensive suit was waiting impatiently. He looked surprised to see her instead of. I'm here to see Mrs., he said. I have important documents from the Blackwood legal group that require her immediate attention. Mrs. is not available to meet with you today, Maya said firmly. The man's expression hardened. And who are you to speak for Mrs.? Are you a family member? I'm someone who cares about her. She's already signed papers with your firm, and she needs time to review everything with her personal attorney before signing anything else. That's not how this works, the man said, pushing past Maya into the foyer. Mrs. gave my firm power of attorney yesterday. That means we can make decisions on her behalf now. Maya stepped in front of him, blocking his path to the rest of the house. Power of attorney doesn't mean you can force her to sign additional documents, and it certainly doesn't give you the right to enter her home uninvited. Listen, lady, I don't know who you think you are, but you're interfering with important legal business. What's your name? Maya asked. David, I'm an associate with Blackwood Legal Group. Well, Mrs. Son is flying in from California today, and her personal attorney will be here this afternoon. Any additional business can wait until then. His face flushed red with anger. You're making a big mistake. Mrs. needs professional financial management, and our firm is now legally responsible for her welfare. If you're really concerned about her welfare, then you should be happy to know she has family and friends looking out for her interests. Pulled out his cell phone and made a quick call. Mr. Blackwood, we have a problem at the house. Someone is interfering with our client relationship. Maya could hear an angry voice on the other end of the phone, but she couldn't make out the words. Listened for a moment, then hung up. Mr. Blackwood will be here within the hour to straighten this out, he said. I suggest you find somewhere else to be when he arrives. After left, Maya returned too, who was sitting in the kitchen with Mrs., looking frightened. What did he want? Asked. More papers for you to sign. I told him you weren't available and that your family lawyer would be handling everything from now on. Reached for Maya's hand. Thank you for protecting me. I feel like a prisoner in my own home. You're not a prisoner and you're not alone, Maya assured her. We're going to fight this together. Mrs. looked worried. What if they try to force their way in? What if they call the police and claim Mrs. is being held against her will? Maya realized they needed help immediately. Mrs., can we call Mr. and ask him to come here sooner? I think we need legal protection before this Blackwood person arrives. Nodded and provided its direct phone number. When Maya called, she explained the urgency of the situation, agreed to come immediately and advised them to call the police if anyone tried to force their way into the house. Within an hour, Mr. arrived, a distinguished man in his 70s who had clearly known Charles for many years. He reviewed the power of attorney documents and shook his head grimly. These papers are extremely broad. If they're legal, this Blackwood firm could sell your house, liquidate your investments, and control every aspect of your finances. But I was confused when I signed them, protested. I didn't understand what they meant. That's the key, said. If you lacked mental capacity when you signed these documents, they can be challenged in court. But we need medical documentation of your condition. Maya had an idea. Mrs., do you have a doctor who's been treating you for your memory problems? Dr. Martinez. She's been monitoring my condition for the past year. Nodded approvingly. If Dr. Martinez can provide documentation that you were experiencing cognitive impairment yesterday, we can petition the court to invalidate these documents. Just then, the doorbell rang again. Mrs. looked out the window and reported that 2 men in suits were at the door, along with a police officer. That must be Blackwood, said grimly. You don't have to speak to them if you don't want to. I want Maya with me if I do talk to them, said firmly. They all walked to the front door together, opened it to reveal Richard Blackwood, a tall, intimidating man with silver hair and cold eyes. Beside him stood David and a uniformed police officer. Mrs., Blackwood said in a smooth voice, I understand there's been some confusion about our business arrangement. I've brought Officer Martinez here to help clarify the situation. The police officer looked uncomfortable. Ma'am, these claim you signed documents giving them authority to manage your affairs, but someone is preventing them from doing their job. Is that correct? Looked at Maya, who nodded encouragingly. Officer, I did sign papers yesterday, but I was very confused and didn't understand what they meant. This is my attorney, mister, and he's advised me not to sign any additional documents until we can review everything properly. Stepped forward. Officer, I'm Mrs. Longtime personal attorney. We have concerns about whether these documents were signed under circumstances that would make them legally valid. Blackwood's face darkened. Are you suggesting improper conduct on my firm's part? I'm suggesting that an elderly woman with documented cognitive issues may not have had the mental capacity to understand the documents she was signing. That's ridiculous, Blackwood snapped. Mrs. was completely competent yesterday. She understood everything perfectly. Maya felt compelled to speak up. Mr. Blackwood, I found Mrs. lost and confused in a hotel lobby yesterday evening. She didn't know where she was or how she had gotten there. Does that sound like someone who was competent to sign legal documents? Blackwood turned his cold gaze on Maya. And who exactly are you in this situation, miss? Williams, Maya Williams, I'm Mrs. Friend. Her friend? Blackwood laughed dismissively. Mrs., you do realize this woman is probably after your money too. She's taking advantage of your confusion to position herself as your protector. His eyes flashed with anger. Mr. Blackwood, Maya has shown me more genuine kindness in the past 24 hours than you did in the entire time you were pressuring me to sign your papers. She's not after my money. She's protecting me from people who are. The police officer looked increasingly uncomfortable. Folks, this sounds like a civil matter that needs to be worked out in court. Mrs., do you feel safe in your home with these people? Yes, officer, I feel completely safe with Mr. and Maya here. And do you want these to leave your property? Looked directly at Blackwood. Yes, I do. I want them to leave immediately, and I don't want them to come back without a court order. The officer turned to Blackwood and, "You heard the lady. This is her property, and she's asked you to leave." Blackwood's composure finally cracked. "This isn't over, Mrs. You signed legal documents, and my firm will enforce our rights. You can't just change your mind because some stranger is filling your head with paranoid fantasies." "The only fantasy here," said calmly, "is your belief that you can pressure elderly clients into signing documents they don't understand. We'll see you in court, Mr. Blackwood." After the men left with the police officer, Maya felt her knees shaking with adrenaline. She had just stood up to people who were clearly powerful and ruthless, and she wasn't sure what the consequences might be. Seemed energized by the confrontation. "Maya, you were magnificent. You didn't let them intimidate you at all." "I was terrified," Maya admitted, "but I couldn't let them push you around in your own home." Began gathering the documents they had reviewed. "Ladies, I need to warn you that this is likely just the beginning. Blackwood's firm will probably file court papers claiming these documents are valid. We need to be prepared for a legal battle." "What do we need to do?" Maya asked. "First, needs a complete medical evaluation from Dr. Martinez documenting her cognitive condition. Second, we need to investigate Blackwood's firm to see if they have a pattern of targeting elderly clients. Third, we need to secure assets to prevent any unauthorized transactions." Looked overwhelmed. "This all sounds very complicated and expensive." "Don't worry about the expense," assured her. "If we can prove fraud, Blackwood's firm will be responsible for all legal costs." After left, Maya sat within the garden behind the mansion. The older woman seemed exhausted by the day's events. "Maya," said quietly, "I need to ask you something important. How long can you stay and help me with all this? I know you need to find another job, and I can't expect you to put your own life on hold indefinitely." Maya had been wondering the same thing. Her savings wouldn't last much longer, and she needed to start looking for work. But the thought of leaving alone to face Blackwood and his associates made her stomach turn. "Let me worry about that," Maya said. "Right now, the important thing is making sure you're protected." Was quiet for a long moment. "What if I hired you?" "Hired me?" "As my personal assistant. Someone to help me manage my appointments, review documents, coordinate with my lawyers and doctors. Someone I can trust to look out for my interests." Maya was stunned. "Mrs., I don't know anything about being a personal assistant to someone like you. You know how to care about people, you know how to stand up to bullies, and you've already shown that you're not interested in taking advantage of me." Smiled. "Besides, who better to help me navigate this situation than someone who was there from the beginning?" Maya felt tears forming in her eyes. "Are you sure? Yesterday you didn't even know my name." "Yesterday I was lost and confused, and you were the person who cared enough to help me find my way home. Today I'm facing the biggest fight of my life, and I need someone beside me who I can trust completely." Reached for Maya's hand. "Are you lost too, Maya?" Maya thought about her empty apartment, her dwindling bank account, and her uncertain future. Then she thought about courage in standing up to Blackwood, and the way the older woman had defended her to the police officer. "Not anymore," Maya said. "I think I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." That evening, as they planned their strategy for the legal battle ahead, Maya realized that her life had taken a turn she never could have imagined. Less than 2 days ago, she had been an unemployed hotel maid with no prospects and no direction. Now she was preparing to take on a powerful legal firm alongside one of Chicago's wealthiest women. But the biggest surprise was yet to come. The next morning, James would arrive from California with information that would reveal the true scope of the conspiracy. James arrived at his mother's house early the next morning, and Maya could immediately see where got her strength and determination. He was a tall, serious man in his 40s with kind eyes and a firm handshake. "You must be Maya," he said when introduced them. "I can't thank you enough for taking care of my mother when I think about what could have happened if you hadn't found her." "Your mother is a remarkable woman," Maya replied. "She's been incredibly brave through all of this." James spent an hour reviewing the documents that Blackwood had pressured to sign, and his expression grew increasingly grim. "Mom, this is even worse than I thought. These papers don't just give them control of your finances. They give them authority to make medical decisions for you and even place you in a care facility against your will. Went pale, they can put me in a nursing home." According to this document, yes. They claim it's for your protection, but it would also give them complete control over your assets. Maya felt sick. How is any of this legal? It's legal if the person signing has full mental capacity and understands what they're agreeing to, James explained. But Mom, can you tell me honestly, did you understand these papers when you signed them? Shook her head firmly. I barely remember signing them at all. That man kept talking and talking, using legal words I didn't understand, and I felt so confused and pressured. I just wanted him to leave me alone. James pulled out his laptop and began typing. I've been doing research on Blackwood's firm since Maya called me. They specialize in something called elder law, but there are complaints filed against them with the State Bar Association. Several families have accused them of targeting elderly clients with cognitive issues. Have they been prosecuted? Maya asked. That's the problem. Most of their victims' families settle out of court to avoid publicity and legal expenses. Blackwood has never actually been held accountable. Maya felt her anger growing, so they just keep doing this to other families. Until now, yes. James looked at Maya with respect. But this time they picked the wrong family to target, and they made the mistake of trying to intimidate someone who wasn't willing to back down. Over the next few hours, James shared what his investigation had revealed. Blackwood's firm had a carefully planned system for identifying wealthy elderly clients who might be vulnerable. They monitored obituaries to find recent widows and widowers, tracked real estate records to identify valuable properties owned by elderly people, and even had contacts in hospitals and senior centers who provided information about potential targets. The most disturbing part, James said, is that they often work with corrupt nursing home administrators and financial advisors. Once they gain control of someone's assets, they move them into expensive care facilities and systematically drain their wealth through inflated fees and unnecessary services. Was appalled. How many people have they done this to? Based on the court records I could find, probably dozens over the past 5 years. The total amount stolen could be in the millions. Maya had been quiet during most of this discussion, but suddenly she remembered something important. James, yesterday when that associate came to the house, he made a phone call to Blackwood. I could hear someone shouting on the other end, and afterwards he seemed very confident that they could force your mother to cooperate. What exactly did he say? He said Blackwood would be here within the hour to straighten things out. It sounded like they had done this before and expected people to cave in when pressured. James nodded grimly. That fits their pattern. They count on families being intimidated and isolated. But this time they're dealing with someone who has resources to fight back, and they don't know about Maya's involvement yet. What do you mean? Maya asked. I think you're our secret weapon, James said with a smile. Blackwood probably assumes you're just a friend or maybe a caregiver who can be easily intimidated or bought off. He has no idea that you're now working with Mom officially and that you witnessed the entire sequence of events. Maya felt a flutter of nervousness. I'm not sure I'm qualified to be anyone's secret weapon. I'm just a hotel maid who happened to be in the right place at the right time. Reached over and squeezed her hand. Maya, you've shown more courage and integrity in 3 days than most people show in a lifetime. Don't underestimate yourself. James agreed. Mom told me how you stood up to and then to Blackwood himself. That took real guts. Dr. Martinez arrived that afternoon to conduct a comprehensive evaluation of mental state. She was a compassionate woman in her 50s who had been treating since Charles's death 3 years earlier. Mrs. has what we call mild cognitive impairment, she explained to the group after her examination. Some days her thinking is completely clear, but stress and fatigue can cause significant confusion and memory problems. Yesterday, based on what you've described, would have been one of her worst days. Would she have been competent to sign legal documents? James asked. Absolutely not. Anyone who spent time with her yesterday would have recognized that she was experiencing significant cognitive distress. For someone to pressure her into signing complex legal documents in that condition would be unconscionable. Dr. Martinez agreed to provide a detailed written report documenting condition, and her opinion that the power of attorney documents were signed under circumstances that made them invalid. That evening, as they sat in study planning their next moves, Maya realized how much her life had changed in just 3 days. She now had a job that paid more than her hotel position. She was living in a beautiful mansion, and she was part of a team working to expose a major fraud scheme. But more than that, she felt like she had found her purpose. For years, she had felt invisible and unimportant, just another person in a uniform cleaning up after other people's lives. Now she was making decisions that could affect not only s future, but potentially dozens of other families who had been victimized by Blackwood's scheme. Maya said, interrupting her thoughts, "James and I have been discussing something, and we'd like to know what you think." "What is it?" James leaned forward. "We think Blackwood's firm is going to escalate their pressure tactics. They have too much invested in this scheme to just walk away. We need to be prepared for them to get more aggressive." "What kind of more aggressive?" "They might try to have Mom declared incompetent and removed from her home," said. "Or they could claim that you're manipulating me for financial gain." Maya felt a chill. Could they do that? "They could try," James said. "But we have Dr. Martinez's evaluation and is filing court papers tomorrow to challenge the power of attorney documents. The key is that we need to control the narrative before they do." Smiled. "That's where you come in, dear. James thinks we should go public with this story." Maya was confused. Go public how? James pulled up a website on his laptop. "I've been in contact with an investigative journalist at the Chicago Tribune who specializes in elder abuse cases. She's been trying to expose Blackwood's operation for months, but she needs victims who are willing to speak publicly about what happened to them. Most families are too embarrassed or intimidated to go on record," added. "But we're not most families." Maya began to understand. "You want to tell your story to the newspaper." "We want to tell our story," corrected. "All three of us, you're as much a part of this as we are." Maya felt overwhelmed. "I don't know anything about talking to reporters. What if I say something wrong?" "You don't need to be an expert," James assured her. "You just need to tell the truth about what happened. How you found Mom, how confused she was, how Blackwood's people tried to intimidate both of you." Nodded. "Maya, people need to hear from someone like you, someone who had nothing to gain by getting involved but did the right thing anyway. Your voice might be the one that convinces other families to speak up." The journalist, Sarah, arrived the next morning. She was an energetic woman in her 30s who immediately put Maya at ease with her direct but compassionate questioning. "Maya, can you walk me through what happened when you first encountered Mrs.?" Maya told the story from the beginning, describing confusion, the hotel lobby encounter, and her decision to help a stranger get home safely. As she spoke, she realized how extraordinary the whole sequence of events really was. "What made you decide to get so deeply involved?" Sarah asked. Maya thought carefully before answering. "I guess I recognized something in Mrs. that reminded me of my own grandmother. But more than that, I could see that she was being targeted by people who saw her as weak and helpless. They had no idea how strong and intelligent she really is." Sarah turned to, "Mrs., can you describe your state of mind when you signed these documents?" "I felt like I was drowning in confusion," said honestly. "Mr. Blackwood kept using legal terms I didn't understand, and he made everything sound urgent and scary. He told me my son was worried about my ability to manage my own affairs, and that made me feel ashamed and frightened." "Did he give you time to read the documents or consult with your own attorney?" "No, he said everything had to be signed immediately or I would lose the opportunity to protect my assets. I felt so much pressure that I just signed everything he put in front of me." James provided documentation of Blackwood's pattern of targeting elderly clients, and Sarah's eyes lit up as she reviewed the evidence. "This is exactly what I've been looking for," she said. "Mrs., would you be willing to go on record with all of this?" Looked at Maya and James, then nodded firmly. "If it will help protect other families from what we've been through, then yes." "Maya, what about you? Are you comfortable being quoted in the article?" Maya felt nervous but determined. "If my story helps people understand what these predators are really like, then yes." The article was published 3 days later with the headline, "Hotel Maid's Act of Kindness Exposes Elder Abuse Scheme." The story detailed experience with Blackwood's firm, Maya's intervention, and the broader pattern of elder financial abuse that investigators had uncovered. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The newspaper's tip line was flooded with calls from families who had similar experiences with Blackwood's firm or other companies using the same tactics. The state attorney general's office announced they were opening a formal investigation. But the most important call came from an unexpected source. Maya was having breakfast when Mrs. answered the phone and reported that a woman named wanted to speak with Maya urgently. "I don't know anyone by that name," Maya said, but she took the call anyway. "Ms. Williams, my name is. I work in the accounts receivable department at the Grand Meridian Hotel," Maya's old workplace. "I read the article about you in the newspaper, and there's something you need to know." Maya felt her heart racing. "What is it?" "The man who fired you, mister. He received a phone call 3 days before he let you go. Someone was asking questions about your work schedule, your personal life, and your financial situation. After he hung up, he told me he might need to terminate an employee soon for budget reasons." Maya sank into a chair. "Who was asking about me?" "I don't know for sure, but the call came from a law office. Mister wrote down a name and phone number. I still have the note because he threw it away and I retrieved it from his trash." "What name?" "Blackwood Legal Group." Maya felt like the room was spinning, grabbed her hand as Maya relayed what was telling her. "They targeted you too," whispered. Continued. "Ms. Williams, I think they wanted you unemployed and desperate so you'd be easier to manipulate. But their plan backfired because instead of becoming their victim, you became Mrs. Protector." After Maya hung up, she sat in stunned silence for several minutes. "They researched you," finally said. "They probably saw you working at the hotel and thought you'd be perfect, someone with financial problems who might be willing to help them get close to me in exchange for money." Maya felt a mixture of anger and amazement. "But instead of helping them, I ended up helping you fight back." "Do you realize what this means?" asked excitedly. "If they fired you as part of their scheme, then they committed additional crimes. This isn't just elder abuse anymore, it's conspiracy and possibly even kidnapping since they tried to control where I could go and who I could see." Maya called James immediately, and he was equally excited by this development. "Maya, this is huge. It proves premeditation and shows that their operation is even more sophisticated than we thought. Sarah is going to want to interview this woman right away." The follow-up article appeared a week later with the headline, "Elder Abuse Scheme Included Targeting Good Samaritans," went on record describing the suspicious phone call and Maya's sudden termination. The public outcry was enormous. The hotel fired Mr. and offered Maya her job back with a promotion and raise, though she politely declined. The state attorney general's office filed criminal charges against Blackwood and his associates for conspiracy, elder abuse, and fraud. Most importantly, 12 other families came forward with similar stories, and a class action lawsuit was filed seeking millions of dollars in damages. 6 months later, Maya sat in the study of what she now considered her home, preparing monthly foundation reports. Memory had stabilized with proper medical treatment and reduced stress, and she was once again actively involved in running the foundation. James had moved back to Chicago to be closer to his mother, and he had offered Maya a permanent position as chief of staff and foundation coordinator. Maya was earning more money than she had ever imagined possible, but more importantly, she was helping families achieve the dream of homeownership through the foundation's programs. Maya called from the garden where she was reading the newspaper. "You need to see this." Maya joined her outside and handed her the business section of the Tribune. The headline read, "Blackwood Legal Group Shut Down After Criminal Convictions." "Richard Blackwood was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison," said with satisfaction. "His associates received sentences ranging from 5 to 8 years, and the article says that victims' families have recovered over $15 million in stolen assets." Maya felt a deep sense of justice and closure. "I still can't believe how this all started." Smiled and took her hand. "It started with one person caring enough to help a stranger. Everything else followed from that simple act of kindness." That evening, as Maya walked through the mansion that had become her home, she reflected on the incredible journey that had brought her here. A year ago, she had been invisible, just another service worker that wealthy people barely noticed. Now she was helping run a charitable foundation, had before the state legislature about elder abuse prevention, and had been featured in magazine articles about everyday heroes. But the most important change wasn't in her circumstances, it was in how she saw herself. She was no longer lost, no longer invisible, no longer waiting for her real life to begin. The next morning, Maya was reviewing grant applications when Mrs. announced that someone was at the door asking for help. Maya went to investigate and found a middle-aged man supporting an elderly woman who looked confused and frightened. "Excuse me," the man said desperately. "I saw the articles about Mrs. and what you did to help her. My mother is having similar problems with her memory, and yesterday some lawyer got her to sign papers I don't understand. I don't know where else to turn." Maya looked at the elderly woman, who was staring around with the same lost expression had worn that night in the hotel lobby. "What's your name, sweetheart?" Maya asked gently. "I don't remember," the woman whispered. "Am I lost too?" Maya smiled and took the woman's arm. "You were lost, but now you're found. Come inside and let's figure out how to help you get home safely." As she guided the new victims into his house, Maya realized that her journey was far from over. There were many more people who needed help, many more predators to stop, and many more families to protect. But she was no longer the frightened, unemployed hotel maid who had stumbled upon in a hotel lobby. She was Maya Williams, defender of the vulnerable, fighter for justice, and living proof that sometimes the most ordinary acts of kindness can change the world. Appeared in the hallway and immediately understood what was happening. "Mrs., please prepare tea for our guests. Maya, let's see how we can help this family." As they settled the new visitors in the living room and began listening to their story, Maya caught Sai's eye and saw the same fierce determination that had helped them defeat Blackwood's scheme. They were no longer lost. They had found their purpose, their strength, and each other. And they were just getting started were facing, and Maya would discover that her own background held the key to bringing down Richard Blackwood once, and for all had no idea that her simple act of kindness toward a confused stranger would soon uncover a conspiracy that reached into the highest levels of Chicago society, or that the woman she had rescued would become the key to solving her own financial crisis in the most unexpected way possible.